You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to 2019. Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael, and with me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of New Year, Texas.
And AK Mike in Texas.
How goes it?
It goes
I'm
pretty
doing
well,
great.
my friend.
Yeah.
Good.
2019
had
is
good
off to a booming
holidays?
start.
Is it? Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
that. Not a problem. Yep, we are starting 2019. This is season 4. Hard to believe. We kind of cranked out the last year. It was a good year, but this year I think we got some good stuff coming up. What's coming down? I got a listener that's coming to visit Phoenix here towards the end of the month. Philip, he emailed me and said, hey, he's got a couple of days down here, and I think Spencer and I are going to take him out to the park or at least out to the field and fly some. So be cool to have him here. I appreciate him looking us up.
Sounds like a good deal, my friend. It sounds like, once again, our travel budget has doubled, maybe even tripled.
It's always better when someone else is paying to come here. We're not
That's
covering
what I
his
mean.
trip.
That's
His
why it's
company's covering his
tripled.
trip. So how convenient that is, right? So, but no, it's
works
it's
for a
great
good
if you yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're in the Austin area or the Phoenix area or Dallas area, that's the 3 areas where we are. Feel free to send us an email on the parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com or email us through our Facebook page and reach out and see if we're available. If you got business in the area, I think you can kind of touch base and maybe we can get together and go fly. This one worked out. I actually have that weekend off, and so Philip and I are gonna kind of get together and go fly some planes. So I think we mentioned that before in the last podcast, but now the month is here, and so we're looking forward to it. And he's emailed me a couple times saying, hey, my schedule's gotten better or worse, or it hasn't gotten worse, but I think he had plans and that got canceled, so now it gives us more time to go fly. So I got to hurry up and finish all my airplanes.
So you're
I
going
got
to have
some
some
that are still
RC shenanigans,
disrepair.
huh?
RC Shenanigans, that's us.
Wah, wah.
That's our new name, right? RC Shenanigans.
Oh, now you
Yeah,
mentioned-
I don't
see,
think
that would.
I don't think that's a good name for us because I don't think I could say it very fast or at all. Maybe.
Well, it may be one. Actually, that's one of the words that Jay can say. Unlike some of the words, where we always make fun of him, he can't
Oh,
pronounce. Shenanigans is like on top of his list.
Just because
He uses
I
that
don't
for
speak English too good, you make fun of me.
Now, be nice. So Philip's coming down at the end of January, and he's here for a couple days. We also have the Electric Festival that's coming up in February. We're excited to attend. This, I think, is our 5th year.
Yeah.
Booyah.
Exciting. So we're all set up to go down and do that. I think Spencer and Barry are both going to be in attendance at least some point during the time we're there. So that'll be good to get them on a podcast, and hopefully they bring some stuff and get some new listeners for us. That'll be exciting. We're looking forward to see Shannon and the rest of the crew out there because I think they're excited about us coming out again. So, and this year, who knows? Maybe we all win airplanes this year. Last year we didn't, right? You guys won cool stuff, and actually I got cool stuff too. But we'll see what we can get this year.
Didn't you
We'll
get
put
you
a
got
phone
a you
in
got a
for us.
plane one year, right?
I did get a plane one year. It was the Mangler.
The Mangler. Yeah, I think it was like the first year. It was the first year we went, I want to say.
Probably so. The first year we went, you got actually I think you got one too. Didn't you get the Blizzard or something? Or did you buy the Blizzard?
No, I bought the Blizzard.
Okay,
No,
so if
no,
you
all
bought
I
the
got
Blizzard,
was some
I
glue,
got
buddy.
the,
What are
yeah,
you
the
talking
Mangler.
about? You got a plane. I got I got some
You got
zaps.
the shaft. Actually,
Okay,
you bought that airplane
wait,
before.
Wait. Mangler? Is that like a real plane? I think you guys keep calling it that because it's been
Mangler.
mangled a bunch of times. But is that the name of the
No.
plane?
No.
Oh,
Jay,
okay.
why do we call this thing the Mangler? Actually, let me tell you what it is. It is a park master. Is that what they call it? Park master. It's a multiplex park master.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
It's an EPP airplane. It's got that. It's not even EPP. It's their what do they call that?
Epifoam or something, or
I think it's EPO or
it's EPO.
Anyway, some
foam,
kind of
but they
special
call it
foam, whatever the
Epifoam.
multiplex stuff uses. And anyway, it was a Parkmaster. It was the one that they came out. I think they have a new one now, but that particular year, 5 or 6 years ago, they had this Parkmaster, and they called my number. I ran up there. Ooh, I got this new airplane. And Jay had just bought this Blizzard, which is a hotliner glider made of foam, and it's also a multiplex.
Mm-hmm.
But so anyway, we came home, and Jay was trying to learn how to airbrush stuff, and so I was kind of doing a little, I guess it was a video or just kind of a phone message. I was kind of trying to get him to understand how to basically airbrush, and so I airbrushed some stuff on this instead of just putting the stickers on it. So it has some really bright orange and yellow colors and black and flames and that kind of thing.
It's fabulous.
But yeah, it's fabulous. But anyway, it uses an APC prop. So Jay nicknamed it the Mangler. Why? Why'd you nickname it the Mangler?
Because your blood has been spilt with the plane.
More than once.
All right, so now that I know the story of the Mangler, which I think is a good one, did you call Multiplex and ask them to change the name? I mean, because I think that guy would sell better.
That might.
It'd be
you
something
think
the
people
adult
buy the
crowd
Mangler?
better. Like,
Yeah.
mothers wouldn't buy it. Mangler, no, you're not going to get that. But the dads
somehow
would be like,
they're
yeah,
a
the Mangler.
Yeah, somehow their marketing department, I don't think, would go for the Mangler, but
Little kids running around with missing fingers. Yeah, that's gonna really get those products.
Actually, Jay needs to tell the story because he has a better version of it. I was the one that actually got mangled. So
all I did was
maybe
stop
my
the
version
bleeding.
my
That's
version
all
is a
I
little
did.
bit
I
different, but
applied
we were
pressure.
building the airplane, right? What's that?
I said I was the one who just applied pressure, stopped the bleeding.
Well, I guess I'm due for a hit then because I did that for Jay. So
that's
Right.
you did.
Well, that's the funny
Yes.
part about it. See, is that
Yeah.
Jay has done that for me more than once. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Jay has been the first.
Gee, it's been a long
giver.
time. I don't know if I can remember the story. I mean, I remember glimpses of it. The blood splattering on the wall in my eyes.
My wife having an absolute.
I was
conniption
spitting it
fit.
out, going, "It's in my mouth. It's in my mouth." I remember
This sort of
that.
sounds like a Monty Python scene where he hacks that guy's arm off and the blood goes spurting across.
Yeah, that's right.
Come back
That's
here.
exactly
I can
how
still
it
fight you.
was.
It's
Yeah.
kind of similar
Yes,
to that,
that's
just that
exactly.
part of it.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
it wasn't. It was just kind of one of those stupid things. I mean, just a little bit of you weren't paying attention just for a split second. You know, you go to just try to test something. If I remember,
Okay, so Jay was at the house, and we put this Mangler thing together, and we were working on the table, and this was the very expensive table that my wife had. That Jay always made comments about, hey, we're working. You do realize that this is an antique, and your wife paid a lot of money for this thing. And Jay and I are gluing on it and everything, and my wife is just coming unglued. I mean, she's coming unglued, but she just doesn't even want to even talk to us because we out here gluing airplanes on this table.
Well, good thing you had glue.
Well, I was smart enough. The first time I did it, I kind of got stuff on it, and I realized that was probably not a good thing. So I got one of those. What do you call that? The pads that go on a dining room table that have like a plastic covering or something over it. Anyway, so I put that out, and basically Jay and I were working on it. But it's one of those tables that holds like it expands and holds like 9 or 10 people, or you can contract it and it'll only hold like 4 people. And we had it set up for like a 6 table place setting. And Jay was here. We were working on the plane, and I had just got the prop on and had set the radio behind the airplane. So it was literally sitting behind the airplane. And we were messing with it, trying to get it, get the prop and everything situated. And I moved the plane backwards, and the tail basically hit the throttle with me standing in front of the airplane. And so the blade, which is an ACP blade, started to spin, and of course my hand was in the way, so it immediately like struck me, and now blood's going everywhere. And Jay's like, oh. And he grabs the radio off the table. This thing is, it's not really full power, but it's enough that the tip of that thing just kind of caught me, and now got blood gushing everywhere. And this is Jay's plug for Blenderm, actually, because I have a case of that stuff in the other room, and of course we I didn't really want to go to the doctor or anything, so I just
Yeah,
put
and
one
it was
derm on my
it was
finger
a
and-
good nick, and it was one of those good bleeders, and he's
Yeah.
bleeding, and
It was
You know,
right. It was right, like on the, where your finger bends, right at the knuckle.
right the jo- yeah,
it
right with
just
that little
sliced
joint.
it. I mean, it just took it. It didn't take my finger off like Jay's, but it did slice it pretty good. And so that was the first time. I think the second time was at the park, and
Yeah, and that
something
was just
stupid
glued back
happened.
together because everybody whipped out the
Yeah.
CA.
The CA we just put
Stick.
together. So Jay
I'm
kind of
healed.
nicknamed it the Mangler because it's kind of bit me more than once. And for a park flyer,
So that's good. We can cut this piece of the thing out and give it to our friends and say, use this as your safety message.
It's a
next time
safety
you're at a
video
club.
for your
Just
club.
play this little piece. Yeah. We give you
Yeah,
free access to use this however you want. You can chop it up into a video and make it replay, make funny scenes out of it. That's be Mike
There
and
you go.
Jay's Mangler bit.
Yeah. Well, I actually have a bunch of airplanes. Well, not a bunch, but several airplanes. Some I don't have anymore, but I have several airplanes that have left their mark on me.
And they're all, and you
So-
know what? Here's the theme with this is they're all 3D planes that have done you in.
That is correct.
When you lived in that, not in your the big house, but when you lived in the other house, and you were
The
standing
big
out there
house.
with Jeremy at the, you were staying at the, he went to school, and you're staying at the bus stop, and you whipped out.
Oh no, that was at the big house. Yeah, that
Oh,
was
was that the
that
big
was
house?
my
Oh,
Chandler
okay.
house.
And you said, and then you whipped out. I think it was a PA, like Edge or something, and you're landing it in the
Yeah, it was-
street, and it landed,
yeah,
and just was
3D
coasting
hobby
over.
shop, actually.
Yeah. And you had
Yeah,
the
it was my.
propeller moving.
I had a
and
3D
whack.
3D Hobby Shop Extra SHP,
Yeah.
and the
That was
bus
it.
came, and I was flying around. So all the kids got on the bus, and I went way down the street to let the bus kind of do its thing, so I could land. And as I was coming back, I lost the airplane, so I stepped off the curb to see where it was, and unfortunately, it was right there. So I stuck my arm up in the air, and that cost me 13 stitches.
Wow, Mike.
Ouch.
But the good news is I caught the airplane mid-flight, and it did not damage the airplane. It
Thank
now
goodness.
had blood all over it, but it did not
Good-
damage the airplane.
Well,
so.
a good trade, 13 stitches or, a broken
absolutely.
wing. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife basically just called and said, or I called her and I said, hey, she's like, what's wrong? I said, I'm on my way to the hospital. She's like, what'd you do? I said, I hit myself with my own airplane. She's like, you did what? I was like, yeah, I actually literally flew the airplane right into actually, I lucked out because I flew it right into my face. You know how when you're looking, you can kind of look down the street and it's like right here and you don't see it. You're like, where is it? Where is it? And all of a sudden you hear it, you feel it, the presence. And I immediately threw my arm up. And when I did, it cut me right on the back side of the hand. And then my arm just was like a little chop, 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 chop. Kind of like Jay's deal.
Oh,
where
yeah.
he throws his arm up and it just right down his arm. Anyway, the same thing happened to me. So I wound up having to go to urgent care and they put 13
And all the other
stitches.
people around there are like, oh, the Wolverine attacked you.
Yeah, but you know what? There was nobody else around me. So that was, other than our listeners knowing now and Jay knowing for the last however many years that was, it's got to be at least 10 or 12.
Except for you realize that the Wolverine isn't real, right?
Well, if you saw my arm, it would look like the Wolverine was real. Cause
Yeah, that's what I'm
a
saying.
bunch of
Yeah.
stripes on it.
So
Exactly. So yeah, that one, and then the other one was just a year or two ago. The was it the Cub or the which one was it? The Cub or the 3D? Actually, I think it was the 3D airplane,
Yeah.
and that
it
was with the one with the
Oh,
wood Zor prop.
It was the Katana.
Yes, the Katana. It's my electric Katana, and I plugged it in, and the radio or something. I can't remember how it happened, but it armed itself, and I stepped forward over top of the prop, which you really should never do, and I went to go grab my radio, and I grabbed it with my left hand, which is not the hand I usually pick my radio up with, and same thing. I went to go grab it and hit the throttle and crunched my hand. This one actually tore flesh. I mean, it was bad.
You
It
should
was probably about a
went,
2-inch gash in my hand, and
you
it
should
was
have went to
deep.
get stitches. Or
And
did you
Jay
get
looked
stitches?
at it and goes, "Oh, you need to go to the hospital for
Yeah.
that one."
That was the
And
one.
what I do, I said,
Out came
"Dude, we're
that
not done
CA.
building." So I grabbed some Blender and whipped it on my hand, and
No, you put
Just went
use
right
it was
back to work.
that was Blenderum and CA. That was you squirted.
oh, that's right, I
both.
used both.
Yeah, use both on that one.
And actually, you can't. You can look right here and see my hand's in perfect working order. So it worked out.
The parts that you can use, yeah.
This part is working. These parts may not work as well, but this part's working.
Oh man.
I've been able to play the flute with just 3 of my fingers. It's fine.
Exactly. My instrument skills have just been cut in half.
Oh, my
That's pretty
goodness.
funny. Well, speaking of katanas, mine's
Yeah.
alive.
The big katana,
The big katana, yeah.
or
as you call it, the dumpster diver.
the
That's
dumpster
what-
plane. Yes,
I was
that's
just going
Spencer
to
was
ask, is this
telling
the
me.
one with dumpster dive we called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the
Actually,
one.
Jay got a video the other day of the initial start. So I think I told you guys in the last podcast or one or two ago that last year that I got it DA 120. And so I'd been working on the airplane and I got it mostly together. There's a couple of things I got to do with the wings, but I had gotten the fuel tank in and the ignition in and the motor mounted and the prop and everything on. And I needed, I'm not really a gas guy, so I needed some help after I got the airplane to this point. And Spencer and I were chatting. He was coming home from work, and I told him how far I had gotten, and he goes, "Oh, well, let me come over and see what's left and help you out with it." So I said, "That's perfect." I met him for lunch, and we came down to the house, and he kind of looked it over and said, "Okay, you need to do this," and he kind of fixed some stuff, and I had put a new fuel clunk and that kind of thing in there, so we kind of got all that stuff. And he brought some gas for me and the little way to, put it in. And so he says, "Hey, let's get the wings and put those on and let's run this motor and see how well the motor runs." Because I had just got it and, I bought it used and, the guy told me, "Hey, yeah, it runs perfect." And so we're going to test it, because I've only had it for a week or two and see how it runs. So we put the prop on, and Spencer's actually on a phone call, but I put the prop and everything on and I said, "Okay, I'm ready." And he comes over and he messes with it. He says, "Okay, I can tell you right now that this is going to be difficult to start because the propeller is set for the 11 o'clock position and you want it set for something different." And that was new to me because I wasn't really sure what he meant about that until he showed me. And then I realized that you kind of have to wind this thing up. So it's a 2-stroke, right? So you
Wind
have to
it
go
up?
through you have to go through the second. What do you call that? It's not top dead center, but it's
Top of
like
the compression.
the power top. Yeah, the top of the stroke or whatever. And so he goes, if you got to have the propeller here so that when you throw the propeller over, it actually pushes through and then gives you another cycle. So he changed the prop back to where it should be, and then he grabs my radio and turns it on, makes sure everything's working. He programmed it for me so we can turn the ignition on and off, and we can turn the motor on and off. So that way, if you're working in front of this thing, you have both the motor and the ignition are both off. Or if one's on,
So
the other
for a
one's
quick
not working.
question, so for what we do, we have maybe have a cutoff switch since we're doing electric
Correct.
stuff, and that was like a big yay when they added that into most of the radios.
right? Exactly.
So what's the difference between cutting off the ignition and turning off the motor? Isn't that the same thing?
That's a great question, and no, it is not the same thing. I should say that it's similar, but not totally the same. And here's what I mean by that. The motor itself has a high and low idle on it, and then you can basically close the throttle, and it will kind of choke out the motor. So you can flip a switch like a motor cutoff, and it will not allow the motor to continue to run. So in the similar to an electric, and Spencer will have to make sure that I got that right, but from what I understand anyway, the electric one is a ESC. You turn the electric to minus 130 on your throttle. That way, if you move your throttle up and down, nothing happens. Because it'll never get up to, the throttle setting. On this one, you're moving it kind of similar, but you're moving it past so that the engine quits, and then once the engine quits, you can't restart it unless you go over there and hand prop it again.
Oh,
If that makes sense. Now, the ignition or the two spark plugs are hooked into what they call an IBEC, which is an ignition battery eliminating circuit. And what that does is it takes your receiver packs, the receiver pack batteries, and it regulates the voltage down to what the ignition needs for the motor. And that's what you can do with the eliminating the IBC is that you can turn it off and back on. So you cut the electric voltage off to it, and it's no longer providing spark to the spark plugs.
Okay, that seems.
So
to make a little bit of
one
sense.
one's affiliated with the air gas mix, the air and gas part of the motor, and the other
Right.
one is directly electric for the ignition. So I have, Spencer programmed both of those for me. So I have a switch for the ignition and I have a switch for the motor cutoff. So anyway, he he programs my radio, and then basically with my radio in his hands, steps over my airplane and looks at me because I'm in front of the airplane.
Right.
And I look at him and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Are we going to start this or what?" And I go, "Yeah. You're going to start it. I know nothing about these motors, and I'm not sticking my fingers or my face near that prop." So I said, I'll take the stance behind the airplane. You get out front of it and figure out if this thing starts. I'm not going to stand out here. I don't even know if it runs. He just started laughing. He's like, "What? This is your airplane. You need to learn this." And I go, "I'll learn it after you get the thing running, but I'm not sticking my face down there." So needless to say, he cranked it up. Actually, he kind of primed it, got everything working, and then kind of pulled the engine through about 50 times, and got the fuel where it needed to be. And then basically, gave it a couple of hits, and it fired up, but it only stayed running for about a second and a half. So it actually ran, which I was like, "Woohoo!" It ran. And he said, "Well, something's not right." So we were looking around at it, and when we were messing with the electrical part of it, we had taken the fuel drain, the vent line, and we had folded it to stick it back in the body, and it caused a kink in the air, fuel air.
Yeah, so manifold pressure pushed back on the thing. Yeah.
Correct. So it wasn't getting any air into the tank to push to act like a pressure to push the fuel forward.
Right.
So
it
he
just got
flipped
weak.
it around a couple more times, and he was like, "Oh man, I think this thing is causing it not to start." So he straightened it out to where it was dripping fuel, correctly, or actually venting the fuel correctly, and it fired right up. So it ran for a couple seconds, and I think that was a choke issue. And then as soon as he cranked it up one last time, he messed with the radio a little bit. I think he set the throttle where it should be for a low idle, and then cranked it up, which was amazing. I was so excited. For my first gas airplane, this engine was running like a champ. I got to give it to DA. They make incredible motors, and everybody that owns one out where I fly in the field that has one is just rant and rave about it. And they're local because they're down in Tucson. So if anything happened to it, I could just run it down there and they would take a look at it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it ran, and I didn't fly because it didn't have any ailerons on it, and we didn't have the cowling on it. So, because the ailerons I hadn't glued on yet. They had CA hinges in it, and according to the directions on this particular airplane, at 106-inch wingspan, they wanted you to upgrade to metal hinges. So I ordered those, and I had gotten them in, but I just hadn't put them in. So Spencer and I did that too. It's much easier with two people because the wings, huge anyway. So it takes 9 or 11 hinges or something for the aileron. So it was he was gluing, and I was shoving them in at the same time, and with the epoxy, and we finally got it all situated and let it kind of dry. So now here it is behind me. I have to put a couple of servos in, and then get the wings all set. And the last thing I think I have left is I finished the pull rudder system a couple of days ago. I'll finish this wing, and the other wing is already done, so I'll put those on. Make sure that they fit correctly, and then the cowling is the last thing I have left. And then it'll be ready to maiden. So hopefully coming up this week, maybe next week, I'll see if I can get it done by the weekend.
Maybe you'll mate with Philip.
Yeah, hopefully I probably won't maiden it. When Philip's here, I'll probably maiden it before, just so I can kind of work out the details of it. But maybe if I can get it done and maidened when Philip gets here, maybe we'll fly the big one. But I'm sure I will if we go out there, because everybody brings their big gassers out there on the weekends and flies them. So hopefully we'll have a couple of jets, that he can watch, see fly, and a couple of the bigger gassers that we can kind of watch. And if mine's available, then that'll be kind of exciting too. So be the first time I get to fly gassers, but hopefully I'll have most of that done before then.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah. So I understand you had a couple of days at the lake or something. That's last couple.
Yeah. So during the holidays, hung out at the lake, and while my friends were fishing, I was flying, and
that's always a good thing. You're not a fisherman?
Oh no, I'm a fisherman too. But it was cool on the lake, and they didn't really think they were going to get much. And there's some catfish and stuff in the lake, and so. But we're just boating around, and so Jay had fixed my the skipper, Dragonfly. Sorry, it's just Dragonfly, and
which is the
because I
Polaris,
busted-
right? It's
yeah,
the
yeah,
Polaris.
the Polaris, right? That
Okay,
I busted
right.
up, and so I needed to give it a try, and so I tried to put it in the water, and dang thing wouldn't take off from the water. I was like, what the heck? I was like, I didn't
Now
think
this
it
is a remaiden of the airplane after I think you guys busted it when you were down there, right?
Yeah, the elevator broke off, and
Yeah, the elevator broke off.
So,
Okay.
we had fixed it up, and I didn't get a chance to fly it, so I just finally got a chance and was trying to take it off. We just couldn't get it. We wouldn't come up off the lake, and the basic idea here, I think, is we think that the angle of attack on the motor, because of the gluing and whatever else, and maybe it was off a little bit already. Jay added some plastic on the bottom, so that might need a little. The angle of attack might be more relevant because it sticks better with that very flat surface on the bottom, so
Right.
the water probably sticks. Plus, it's a little heavier, so it might sit in the water a little deeper as well.
Right.
And so I think some of the water was coming up over the front edge of the wing, and so it just never could get enough air underneath the wings to get up off the water. Even though it was somewhat choppy, it wasn't glass water, it was somewhat choppy. It should have taken off, but it just never could get going.
They call that getting up on the step, right? You had to get it up on the step.
Yeah. Well, the step was there though still, and so that was all good, but it just never could do it. And I think that, like I said, the angle of attack on that motor is just a little. I'd made modifications before Jade fixed it, and so all that stuff together is probably what that is. So once I'll make some adjustments on it, and we'll go. It took off. We threw it by hand, and it took off fine. And also, I flew it in a park, and it took off from the ground on the park. Because that grass, it was grass. So the water just has this sticking, characteristic.
It's like glue.
Yeah, it was like glue. And so, but it would fly fine. I had to do some adjustments, of course, on the elevator. But other than that, it flew just fine. But it did seem like it was a little tail heavy. Like I had to move the battery forward in the nose. And so that, again, speaks to the angle of attack issue. Because I had to move the battery so far forward to get it to fly reasonably normal. So,
Now, if you change the thrust angle on this, you think it'll fly differently off the ground?
Yeah, I do. It'll come up sooner. The reason why I say that is because I flew it around in the park, and then I had to adjust the battery placement so it would fly better. And so once I did that, it flew a lot better, and it was flying.
You have to move the battery forward.
I had to move it forward. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was tail heavy then. You were flying the tail heavy.
It was tail heavy, but the angle of attack would push the nose down. So even though it was flying tail heavy, once it got in the air, because of the angle of attack would push the nose down. Does that make any sense? In the water. Because the ground's different. The ground's different.
Right, the ground is different. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the water, when it started moving forward, the nose would go into the water. Is what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
And it wouldn't.
And you don't think moving the battery backwards would have changed that, or?
It would have, but then I would have had trouble flying it because it would have been so tail heavy that I wouldn't have been able to do anything. So I wasn't willing to do this. So I'll change the angle of attack first, and see if that fixes it. And
Gotcha.
I'll just add a couple washers to the bottom of the motor mount, and we should be good. I think.
That sounds like an easy fix, though.
I think so, yeah. But I haven't tried
Couple
it
of
yet.
washers.
I don't know.
So that sounds
having to
dangerous
redesign
because
the
it
whole
may be
motor.
an easy fix. That just sounds suspicious or something.
Well,
That
it
sounds
just
like an
I
easy
mean, when you're
fix.
going
Oh
to
my
change the
gosh.
thrust angle or whatever, it just sounds like, that seems like if I said, "Oh, I got to change the thrust angle of the motor," putting 2 washers in it doesn't seem to. I mean, I don't know. Now that I said it out loud, I guess that's be the way to do it. But
Well,
in my head,
it
I
may
was
be
thinking he had
more
to
than just
rebuild the
2
motor box.
washers. I mean, he may have to use, like I like to use the prop adapters sometimes. Like you have the spare prop adapters in your
Yeah,
kit
for
or
the
something.
APC little
Yeah.
little
Or
circles.
in my case, probably just a popsicle stick or 2 glued on top of the existing popsicle sticks that are being used for the motor mount.
Right.
I mean,
right.
it doesn't really
Guys,
matter.
It sticks
how
out
I-
3 popsicle sticks.
No, I mean it's a flat. The popsicle sticks are flat, like they're part of the motor mount,
Right.
as
Right.
opposed to sticking out from the plane. Anyway, the other thing
Sure.
that's not normal is that the motor already extends past where it used to be by about an inch or 2. So it's
So
the
it's
thrust
longer.
part is also in the wrong spot. So anyway, that's kind of
Well-
where I'll end up doing it.
Gotcha.
Well, considering it's amazing it flies, considering how much the tail's been ripped off and everything that's happened to it, it's amazing that it can even still fly. So,
Yeah, you've
definitely
crashed
got-
that airplane a couple times, right?
Yeah,
A
it's
lot of
definitely
times.
it's found the ground. Very, very much so.
The ground. It's a ground lover.
I
In
think
fact,
the
Well,
nose.
yeah,
I think the nose has been tweaked at least 3 or 4 times. It submerged itself at least once.
yeah.
And I'm
remember
not
that
talking
one.
about just part of it. The entire plane went into the water. Entire plane.
Is that the same one that went into the snow as well, like the snowbank? Didn't you tell me that, Jay, that it just
No,
buried itself in the snow?
I don't think so.
Or was that a different one?
Maybe
it might have
that might have been deep snow where we were flying that thing because I would have
No,
done that.
that might have been a different story. I mean, we've had a couple of good stories where things have just disappeared into the snow like that when we were up in Alaska. I mean, we've had a few
gotcha.
different
I
planes.
thought the Polaris was one of them.
Well, it might have been Jay's Bumblebee. I mean, we don't know. I don't know.
Oh, it could have been Jay's Bumblebee. Actually,
Yeah.
now that you mention it, I think it was because he said that. Didn't you paint the bottom of that a different color or something? That's
Yeah,
how you
it's-
found it.
Yeah, it's black.
Yeah. So, well, it sounds like it's a good project to get working on. Did you have any other airplanes that you built, or did you fly out at the field at all? I mean, after
no,
you
I
went to
haven't
the lake, or have you
flown.
flown?
It's been cold and rainy and surprisingly windy. Not surprisingly, actually, Dallas is pretty windy a lot of the time. But it's not been the best weather in the world for when I have time to fly. And then, but like the last couple of days, I'm like, yes, this is why I'm in Texas. It's like 60, 70 degrees. It's the middle of January, or not the beginning of January. Sorry, not the middle, the beginning of January, and it's just fantastically beautiful weather, and I'm just like, oh, this is great. So
It's like
I'm
an
excited.
Alaskan summer.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's just like an Alaskan summer. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I grew up in Texas, and I never had a white Christmas ever, because every year I grew up in Houston, and so every year it was always hot and muggy and rainy. So we would always get toys you could go outside and play with, basketballs, gloves, baseballs, bikes, whatever. All my relatives were up in Pennsylvania getting snowboards or not snowboards at the
A
time. Sleds,
Yeah,
the mittens.
snowball
They're all
machines.
bundled up. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Snow. What do you call those scoops that you turn the snow out? The big shovels. What do they call those? Snow shovels? Is that what you call those? I don't know. I don't know. I've never lived in snow. I mean, I live in Arizona now. What the heck? Although it did snow here
snow
not
buckets,
too long ago.
whatever they call.
What
those
is this
things.
silver weird shaped thing that you put in the snow? What do you
I don't know.
do
I
with
saw
it?
I saw that Christmas Vacation, and they used it as they rode on it, didn't they? They sat
You
on it
can-
and rode
you
down the
can
mountain.
Oh
turn-
no, that
you
was
can
that
turn
was
the shovel
actually
into a
that was
sled.
actually a metal sled. But yeah, that's a good point.
Was it? I thought it was a shovel.
Nah,
It's pretty funny.
he just had a nice coating on the bottom of it.
I gotcha. Special
It-
coating.
Yeah,
so
that he
it
used for
came like
cereal.
when the weather was bad. Did you work on a rack? Did you put some of your planes? Because I'm looking in the background in your little picture there. It looks like you have a rack.
Yeah,
back
that's
there with some
true.
Planes on.
Looks like you have a little one. Oh, looky there. It's got a little rack. Oh, very nice.
It's my pile. It's not very
It looks
tall,
good.
and one of the things I got to do still is mount it to the wall so that because you only have an inch or so of piping stuck into the little adapters, it
Right.
doesn't really hold much weight unless you have some kind of other anchor in it. So I got to anchor to the wall still. I haven't done that yet.
Well, that's what Jay's is. Jay's got all the way to the ceiling.
Actually,
over
that's how I got the idea.
All the way to
Was
the,
because of Jay's.
12-foot ceiling.
Jay's are like 8-10 feet tall or something, and he's got his mounted, so that makes sense. But mine's only like 3 or 4 feet, and I'm going to keep it that small because I just don't want to have that many planes at once.
Hey, that's famous last words.
I said don't want doesn't mean I won't have.
Yeah, it won't happen, but yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
definitely gonna
we've
try.
all said that at one point. Oh, I'm never going to buy anything more than a 3-cell battery because I'll never fly anything with a 3-cell.
Yeah, I was
Now I
talking
own a
about
whole
that at
tra-
Christmas. I was talking about
Yeah.
that at Christmas, and it's like, well, what about the planes that Jeff gave you?
Exactly.
Well, I didn't buy those though, so those don't count.
No, but you got to buy the batteries for them.
Oh,
got a
that's
whole
fine.
tray full of 6-cell
No,
batteries
Jeff,
now.
Jeff was nice because he gave me planes that use the batteries I currently use. So
Oh, there you
again,
go.
I don't feel like I'm in the safe zone here, but I can't really buy planes because I have too many, like in stock.
Oh, right. You got to build the ones that you.
But and that's
currently
just
have.
a personal thing, personal promise I made myself.
Yeah, get in line, dude, because I think between the three of us, there's so many freaking projects we have laying around the house. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 in the box already myself, and I'm still getting more.
You can't morally corrupt me, Mike.
I can't?
No.
I can try.
Yeah, you
I can try.
If it makes you feel better, you should keep trying.
All right, I'll keep trying, and Jay can come around,
Yeah, well,
the
Jay doesn't
side.
care. He'd do it anyways. For him, it's not even a consistency thing. He just does it because he can.
Yeah, that's what plane broker emails I keep getting. They're like, buy this.
Hey,
keep
I'm
telling
just trying
them,
to do my friends a service. I have a little bit more free time on my hands than you do, and if I come across a deal, I kind of know what planes you guys have, and I know
This
what
is
you guys
true.
like, and so I just provide you with mouth-watering sales that you should take care of, jump on in the next 10 minutes or so before it's gone. I can't.
Oh,
Okay,
and I
I'm-
will
I'm-
tell you, I will tell you as well that Jay is great at technical support as well, because I finished building my ASW 28 and it's been sitting in the other room in a box because what did I miss? They took out the little control horns,
Right.
And so I went. He found them for me. He said, "Hey, I found these control horns. Go ahead and order some." Well, I made the order at Banggood Hobbies, and I put I ordered 3 sets of 6, so that's what 18. I ordered 18 control horns to have some for my box in case the glider bent one or I hang a rash or crash or whatever. And so I ordered those, and then I ordered a 40 amp ESC for the glider as well. And Jay's like, "Did you get your package yet? Did you get your package?" I go, "No, it's on Slow Boat from China." So finally he asked me a couple days ago, I think. And he's like, "Hey, did you get your control horns? Have you flown that airplane?" I said, "No, I'm still waiting." I said, "I'll go check on it." So I checked on it, back ordered.
Yeah.
I told Jay, I was like, "They're back ordered, dude. I got to wait forever." And he's like, "No, they're in stock. It says right on the website they're in stock." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. They say on my order it says back ordered." So we hopped on the computer and he got on my screen and he's like, "Okay, go here, and talk to these guys." So we got to talk to, what was her name, Crystal or
Oh
think
yeah.
of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was something like that. It was like Crystal or Suzette or something. And you're like,
it was pretty funny.
She lives
And,
in Taiwan.
yeah, so
Her
anyway,
name's
yeah, and
Susan.
it was through
Okay.
Google Translator, because it's like, "Hey, can I help you?" Kind of thing. And so Jay told me what to say, and I asked, "Hey, I'm interested in my control horns." Come to find out, the control horns are in stock. The ESC was not, but because it was a combined order, they were holding everything up. So Jay's like, "You don't need the 40 amp ESC right this second. You need the control horns because you can fly it on a 3-cell with what you have." And I have, a 40 amp BEC in the other room somewhere, but I just, was online and I needed the extra, $5 or $6 to make it free shipping because you get free shipping at a certain amount. And so I threw that in there. So I have to say, Jay helped me out, and they were like, "Oh, well, you want us to split your order so you get the control horns." So now they're on their way. They're
Yeah,
actually
so-
on the boat.
Yeah, because I
Nice.
thought it was kind of odd that it took a whole month and a half or however long.
Oh
it's
yeah,
been.
yeah.
It's
I
been
ordered
so
those
long.
things before I left for Cambodia, I think. So
Oh yeah, that's
That-
right. That's right. That was that.
it was like November 2nd or something.
Now I'll
So
definitely
Jay, I understand that you got something new on order as well. Speaking of orders,
right. Well, it's something new, but it's something old. So I
Oh.
think our last podcast, I talked about how I wanted to go ahead and get a new radio because
Right.
now that I'm getting into, I found a board that I like, this flight controller board, and I can fly a little bit further. Have my ham radio license, and I just want to get out there, fly a little bit longer. But my Spectrum, you just can't get any real good distance on that. Nor are
Right.
there any kind of there are modules you can get and things you can do, but I wanted to go kind of a cheaper route. I didn't want to invest a lot of money in it, just due to all the other projects that I have going. So I saw on Banggood Hobbies a nice little radio for $90 that I could use, and it had a 4-in-1 little controller module in the back, and it basically did every protocol there was known to man. And
wow,
I was interested in getting that because it was less than $100, and the reason that it was $100, I could use that at least to use for FreeSky protocol, and I could use their new long range UHF system. So that's kind of
Right.
like what I was looking to get. So I figured if I got the radio, I got the module, it cost me, I don't know, between $150 and $180. So all the reviews on the radio said really, really good things about it, except that it was rather small. And as you know, both you and I have gorilla hands. So
hey, what are you saying?
that's what I'm saying. So pass me a banana. So basically what I was saying is just I knew I had big hands, and I'm a stick flyer and I'm not a thumb flyer. So I said to myself, well, I could do that, but do I really want to do that, or is there another way around it? So then I looked at getting a used radio. So I looked at getting AK Mike's radio, and he has a Taranis 9D Plus, I do believe. So I got on my second favorite little tool, and I got on Craigslist. And wouldn't you, lo and behold, a guy right up the road had one, and for the price that I wanted. And I was like, great. So I got on RC Groups, checked to make sure I was getting the right price or about what the radios were going. And I noticed this guy, it came with nothing. It was just like the radio. Everybody else I saw with their deals, you'd get a module, you'd get some sort of upgrade, you'd get a better battery, you got some stuff with it. And this guy was just
Right.
selling just the radio and a case. So basically I said to him, hey man, I know you want X for your system. I'm not going to give you that. Here's what I'll give you. And basically he turned me down, and I was a little disappointed.
Bummer.
Yep. So I went back on RC Groups, spent less than 20 minutes on there. Found a guy out in California that had a used system. Actually, there was maybe two guys that had systems that I wanted. One guy had already put all the modifications and had done everything to the radio, and the other one was a plain Jane radio, but it was at a good price, mailed to me, with the shipping included, for the price that I wanted. And I just decided to go with that radio because it came with a nice aluminum case. And I kind of said to myself, I'm going to want to put everything in there myself. So all the mods and all the other additional things, I have the time. I like tinkering with that kind of stuff. So I decided to get that system as well. So that's pretty much what I did. So that's
were you able to buy it for a decent price? Were you going to get it at a better price than the one that had all the mods already done?
right. So basically it came out to be about the same amount.
Okay.
So what for the radio, the brand new radio from Banggood, having that one delivered, not that there was much to modify, but by the time I bought the module, added the module and everything, it basically would have been the same price as now I'm getting this Taranis, radio. Everybody's talked about it. There's plenty of information out there about it. There's plenty of how can I put it? It's kind of like an AR-15 for the Taranis. There are
Right.
so many different mods. There's so many different things you can get for it, and that was the other reason why I went with it. And plus, it's a bigger radio, so it's more of the size. You've handled one. It's similar
Yeah,
size to
yeah.
our Spectrum. So I wanted to do that. And so one of the mods that I'm getting for it, like you had noticed before, that the reason that you didn't like the radio too much, I think we talked about this in one of our episodes, was the fact that the gimbals weren't too good. Well, there are Hall gimbals out there for the radio at a
Really?
inexpensive price. So I went ahead and ordered that, and just some other little mods. And you should see just how guys are decking, like I said, kind of like an AR-15 for anybody who's
Right.
familiar with those things. You can get any kind of accessories, bells and whistles for the thing, and it's the same thing
Sure.
for this. So, yeah, I'm
Jay,
kinda
did you already buy that 4-in-1 module for it?
Actually, I didn't. You did.
Oh, that you're gonna use that one the one you're gonna use the one that I gave you from a while back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it. Now, I looked it all up, and basically the difference between that one and the newest one you could buy now, since they're essentially the same module. I mean, they do the same protocols for everything, from what I could see, was that one you could do on the radio through the programming itself, and the other one was basically switching with that switch in the back, to turn it. But I'm not 100%.
So the biggest difference that's probably more relevant to the one that I gave you versus what's out there today that I would recommend you buy is that they have more memory. The newer ones have more memory.
Well, there you
And
go.
so you can keep more models in there at one time. And in your case, because you do mostly Spectrum stuff, it won't be a big of a deal. And you have the Spectrum, and then the CC, the FR Sky stuff that you're doing, and then the LR stuff that you're gonna maybe do. But that's it's gonna be a separate module, so that doesn't play a part.
Right.
So that's the biggest issue. So you might have to do a little more stuff on your side to get it to work with that module because it has less memory, but it will work. But if you do get a new module, make sure you talk with me first because you'll want to get a different one than some that are out there. There's a bunch out there, and you want to look for some specific things. STM.
Why? That sounds like another episode.
But you're not talking about switching, like dumping your Spectrum altogether, right? This is
No.
for a specific purpose for FPV,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you're not going to transfer all your Spectrum radio stuff to only use the
No,
Taranis.
there's no need.
Right, but now he can do that, and that's the key thing there. For
Yeah.
some,
If I
not
wanted
that he's
to.
going to move all of them, but he can move some of the ones that he's been wanting to move. Even though they have Spectrum gear in it, he wanted to move to the Taranis because it could do some things he couldn't do on his radio, or couldn't do it in the way he wanted to do it, and or didn't understand it enough. I mean, because it can be hard sometimes to program that Spectrum radio to do certain specific things that he wanted to do, and so not impossible, like say, but it's harder, or it seemed harder anyway for me.
No, that's because you're too much of a brainiac. Spectrum's for idiots like us.
Maybe I just have different expectations, I think, from the radio and how it's going to behave. And
Probably so.
And the Spectrum radio does a lot of stuff for you, and I don't expect it to behave like that, and so that kind of confuses me at times because I expect it to do what I tell it to do, and it does other stuff too that I'm not aware
Right.
of.
Huh. Wow, interesting.
Well, that's cool,
well,
Jay. I'm
I
really
wish you
excited
the best
for
of luck with that. I'm sure that'll be interesting, especially since I did not take to the Free Sky radio at all, and I don't know whether it was because I've just been on Spectrum since day one, or if it was just the guy's radio was a little wonky, or I don't know what the story was. But I tried to fly a couple airplanes with this Taranis, and it did not work well for me at all.
Well, I'm interested after I get this thing all modded and done and tweaked and twiddled for you to come out and fly something on it. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see just how that works out. So I'm excited to see what I can do or hopefully not mess up. So it'll be interesting.
So that's cool. I'm really excited for you because I think that you're going to really like some of the features that you can turn on and turn off with your Taranis that you haven't been able to do, and I think that'll be neat, especially with FPV
Yeah, I'm looking
stuff.
forward to it. I really am, Mike.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like you summed it up kind of perfectly. There's some things that Spectra can do, and that I wanted to get a little bit more, or I wanted I wanted my radio to do something specific with a specific plane that I had, especially with the FPV stuff, and it just wouldn't do it. And it's nice to see that now I can or I will be able to do it with this new radio. So, and the other big plus was I knew you love this radio. You're right up the road, and if I have any problems, I just pick up the phone and call you.
Yeah, that's no problem. I'm excited about doing that for you. So the other thing I think you'd be cool with this is because we're doing FPV is using the scripts to be able to change PID values and stuff like that in your FPV plane. That'll be neat for you to be able to do that right from the radio. That's kind of cool.
Well, I definitely know nothing about that, so it'll be
either do I. So it'll be fun.
Definitely explore together.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, it'll be cool.
Well, I wish you the best of luck on the Taranis as well. So maybe you can use your new battery packs or something on it.
Funny you should mention that. So I don't think we've talked about this yet.
Probably
so
not.
I've been playing with some lithium ion batteries for basically it's the Orbit Wing for flying with FPV. I decided to there was basically a sale at Banggood Hobbies for the 650 batteries, and that's a lithium ion battery. It looks kind of like an oversized AA battery.
Right,
and
but it's longer, right?
It's
a little bit longer, fatter.
It's a little bit longer. So the neat thing about lithium ion, as opposed to our lithium polymer batteries, is that they both give out the same amount of voltage. They go from 4.2 down to 3 volts or so. That's fine. But where the lithium ion really shines is that for pound for pound, the lithium ion gives you not more power. Let's make sure I get this right. It has more power density. So in a certain size, certain weight of battery, let's say a lithium polymer battery can give you, let's say, 5 minutes of power at a certain voltage. So let's say you can get 5 minutes if you run the battery at, let's say, 4 volts for 5 minutes. The lithium ion for 4 volts might be able to give you 10 minutes. Okay, for that particular density, for that particular size battery.
Right.
So for example, Orbit Wing, so I've been flying it on a 2200 milliamp battery, 3-cell. So I get about 20 minutes on that particular plane because the plane is very efficient with the battery, combo, motor combo that I have on there. When I
that's not bad either because most of my airplanes are only getting
really
6
good.
minutes. So.
Yeah, exactly. Because this isn't a screamer wing like the Tough Wing. I mean, it's just basically putting around
3 minutes of 100 miles an hour.
Exactly. So it's just putting around, looking at things. Is basically what it's designed for. So when I put in this, the batteries that I have, even they come out to be about the same size as the lithium ion 2200 battery. They weigh just about the same or a little less. So the cool part is where I get 2200 in that package for the lithium polymer, I get 3000 for the lithium ion. So that's kind of cool. Now the neat part is, so far I can get about 45 minutes out of flying that battery pack.
So it's almost double.
Yes.
So you went from 20 to 40.
Yes.
Out of the same size battery.
Out of the same size battery.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
So it's very, very impressive. Now, there are some stipulations. Like I said, if I took that same battery pack and threw it in the Tough Wing, could I use it? Yes. Would it go very far? No. When you went to give it full power, it would go and kind of die off.
It'd be a whole 20 yards and then it'd be dead.
Right. It does not give you the overall punch. So if like on the Tough Wing, when you go full power on a 3-cell, I want to say you're basically, I want to say it wants to have 45 amps, 40 amps is about what it does in that range. that battery pack can't do beyond 20 amps. So that's all that battery pack could put out. So like I said, with the motor combo on the Orbit, normally it only puts out, I think it tops out at 15. So if I put it on a 20 amp battery, hey, it doesn't care. That's well within the parameters. Throw it on a tough wing, that battery, that motor combo wants 40 amps all day, every day.
Right. So it's not going to. You're not going to be able to amp up enough to run that big of a battery or that big of a motor.
Right.
Gotcha.
No way. Oh, I could if I basically put some batteries in parallel and hooked them up. I could probably add it all up and it would come to that. But once again, now it weighs twice the weight.
Yeah, 20 pounds.
Exactly, 20 pounds, and I'm defeating the purpose there.
Sure.
So
sure.
yeah, so this lithium-ion stuff is really kind of cool. Plus, as I'm finding out, the reason why they use lithium-ion in like power tools, the reason they use them in power tools is that, once again, you could use a lithium polymer battery, no problem. Except that, you've heard where you shouldn't leave your lithium polymer batteries charged and not discharge them. Like you can't leave them for 6 months and not use them. Well, lithium ions don't care. You can leave them charged. It doesn't bother. Their chemistry isn't affected by sitting around at almost a full charge.
Huh. For indefinitely, you mean, or do you have to store them at a certain temperature?
From what I'm seeing, they're not as choosy or as picky as the lithium polymer batteries are. So that's why they use them in the power tools. That's why they seem to be a pick for that kind of stuff. So for this new, like I said, radio that I have coming, it looks like I'm going to go ahead and mod it so I can stick in some lithium-ion batteries into it. So normally, I think you can put, a 2-cell battery, I think maybe a 1500. And so I found some, instead of the 18650s, I found some, I think they're called 26650. So the way it works is the 18 or the 26 is the diameter of the battery. And I forgot what the 650 stands for, but anyway, so if I might be able to modify the battery so I can stick those in internally. So I'm looking forward to getting a good long life out of those batteries if I stick them in that radio.
Wow, it sounds like a plan, man. I'll be interested to hear how it works out.
Well, I've already put some batteries together, so it'll be pretty interesting. I could tell you some nice, funny stories of as you're working with battery packs, not to have any exposed metal out, or such as
don't touch these two. Don't touch the red and the black wire together. That's always a bad thing.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where you have it sitting on your bench, and then you have like what do you call those things that we use all the time to grab things? Yeah, you bought it for me for Christmas one year.
Oh, the hemostats.
Yeah, so you have a hemostat like laying around. You take that and it's sitting there on the bench.
What's the big char mark on the hemostat there?
Something like that, bud. Because you move the battery around, or you're sliding the battery packed together, and it's safe over here. You push it back, not realizing there's a hemostat somewhere back there.
Some piece of metal touches both ends, and you're like, zap, zap.
You go, why is there blue smoke over there? that's
so much for your battery pack. It's all fried.
Oh, yeah.
It's
amazing. It's definitely amazing.
Well, I think in some of our last podcasts we probably should revisit how to work with batteries, because I think I've smoked one or two myself just in the recent last couple of months, accidentally pushing two plugs together and just doing the whole overpowering. Why won't this fit? Push it harder and it right. So I'm like, wow, this thing is really getting hot. What happened? And they're like, wait, push this black and red wire shouldn't be together.
Yeah, I was ready to say, what's that thing about pushing a square thing into a round?
Yeah, square peg and a round hole.
Square
peg and a round hole.
You can do it if you have enough pressure.
Yeah, you can do it if you give it a try.
Exactly.
Well, unfortunately, our hour's up for this episode. We appreciate you joining us here at the Park Flyer Podcast. We're looking forward to a great 2019. I'm excited. There should be a lot of really fun things on the horizon. I'm looking forward to Philip's visit, hanging out with Barry and getting them. I think Barry's getting close to finishing his jet, so that should be good. Electric Festival's right around the corner, so we're looking forward to having everybody out there. And then I think there's a couple more items rolling down the road, so we're going to try and get all that covered. But I don't know. We'll
Don't forget, we got a bunch
feedback.
of new fields to go and visit. I mean, the one that
Yeah,
Mike
that's
said,
true.
we just got to go out there and meet everybody. So
This
that's
is
going to be
true.
fun. And
I
I think
gotta-
a couple of us are taking some trips. So
believe
we're
we
going to
are.
go and visit fields when we go on our little trips around the country. So yeah,
Very
it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, I think so. Well, man, it's already 2019, hard to believe. So these episodes are going to just come rolling in on us. I can feel it. It's going to
They always do, buddy.
I know. All right, it's all right. We'll get there. But for now, Michael from Arizona.
And I'm Jay from the hills of Texas.
And AK Mike in Texas.
All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Now let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.